colonization. And I'm sure no one has talked about the chief colonizer, Chinedu. He's always been in the debating society, right from primary secondary school, actually. So probably that's why this actually attracted him. You know, talk about Africa. It gives me a bittersweet feeling. You know, if you travel often and you present your Nigerian passport, or if you're in conversations where resources are being allocated, so people are thinking about what's the new market, sometimes you feel so small that you're from Africa, because it looks like a lot of people can do without you. Some of the first markets that are closed, if a bank, if a national bank is closed and they're trying to downsize and trying to operate more efficiently, one of the first places they think about closing is Africa. But again, you look at yourself, comparing yourself to your peers abroad, and you see that it's the same blood that flows through you. And a lot of times you're a lot more intelligent. You also consider the fact that everyone knows that Africa is a wealthy country. It has gold, oil, cobalt, everything under the ground. But yet, it is still the poorest continent. It's still the poorest continent, despite such wealth. Such a paradox, right? When I think about it when I think about the paradox, I still remember Nigeria, of course this is Africa, and how we talk about the poverty rates in Nigeria. Things are so bad. In the past 3 years, there's no money. But is there anyone here that remembers the name Poyoyo? Does it ring a bell? Oh, Poyoyo doesn't ring a bell. But does Chinmark ring a bell? That's it. If it rings a bell, can I just hear you? It rings a bell, right? Now, if it doesn't ring a bell, at least you would know the name Segimavodi of MMN, right? Trying to gather how much Nigerians have lost to these Ponzi and get-rich schemes or get-rich-quick investments in the last 1 year. I have an anecdote of about 300 billion in the last 12 months. That's a little over $500 million. But yet, we're still a poor country, a country with very poor people. I bet you, after this particular TED event, if I come down with Chinedu and one other speaker and float another Ponzi scheme, we're going to raise at least 100 billion in the next 3 months. What a paradox. Isn't it concerning that it looks like we're poor, but yet there is so much money around? You know, I was reading a book, I think it was almost 10 years ago. If you know the name, Hernando de Soto, where he talked about the mystery of capital. And I'll paraphrase 2 statements that he made that changed the way I think about Africa and about resources and about capital. He said, you know, at the best altruistic rate, so if the United States decides to give the best they can to foreign aid, it's going to take them 150 years to transfer to the hands of poor nations the wealth they already have. I'll take that again. It's going to take them how many years? 150 years to transfer to their hands the wealth that they already have. There's a second statement he made. He said, the wealth in the hands of the poor is immense. He said it is 40 times more than all the donations, all the foreign aid that have been given to the same poor since 1945. Then how come these people have so much wealth but are still very poor? it doesn't surprise me when I think about this. I'm not surprised when Africa is always the next big thing that would happen. In the last 10 years was the next big thing. In the last 20 years it was the next big thing. In the last 30 years it was the next big thing. And it suggests to me that Africa has what we call potential. And if you did physics, potential energy is an energy that is just what? Still. But kinetic energy is the energy that can help you do work. So Africa's energy never gets away from potential to what? Kinetic. We are poor because we are not what? Productive. The energy of Africa needs to stop being in the mind, in faith, in thinking, in theory. It has to now go into what? Action, production. And that's where I come with a theory that capital in Africa is what? Dead. There is capital. We've proven it. We can gather money if we want to gather money today. There is gold, there's silver, there's capital everywhere. But it's in its potential form. It has not gone into what? Productivity. I define capital as force that drives productivity. That's my bare definition of capital. And I will use two stories to illustrate how dead the capital in Africa is and probably what we can do to inject life into it. Think about this farmer, Haruna. He's from Niger State and he farms on a 10-hectare. He has 10 hectares where he plants his maize and his millet. His 10 hectares of land was given to him by his father. And of course, it was not without a tussle with his brothers and some of his relatives. So the people in his village actually attach value to that land that he has. He farms on it. He makes his millet, he makes his maize. When he harvests it, storage is a problem. So he just sells off the one he can sell and he continues like that, subsistence living. He can't take his children to the university. He can't afford improved seedlings. He can't afford mechanization. But think about it. If in economics, that the factors of production, two major factors are what? Land and labor. It means that if you have land, then you are supposed to be what? Productive. If you have labor and skill, you're supposed to be what? Productive. Do we have land in Africa? Do we have skill in Africa? Then why are we not productive? Just like Haruna. Haruna has hectares of land, but he's still categorized as what? A poor farmer. Think about what happens if the government documents Haruna's land. If the government of Niger State documents every land, and Haruna now has what you call a sphere of O. His land stops becoming just important to his brothers and his village members. It becomes important to Okeke in Enugu State because he has paper. And the government now does what? Creates a system where this paper can be exchanged quickly. If I buy the land from Haruna, I can change it to my name next 2 days. Do you know what will happen? The money Okeke put in Chinua, instead of giving it to Chima, put it in Haruna's business. But as an asset-backed equity, in the sense that if Haruna makes money, Okeke will be happy. If the business goes down, they will sell the paper and Okeke will take his money and go away. Can you imagine how Haruna, that has never touched 100,000 naira, can now access 10 million naira that is sitting idle in bank, waiting for the next Chima to deceive? And he injects it into his business. Improved farming processes, he can now hire people, he can now do processing. So he doesn't sell the maize again, he converts it to other items that of course, adds value and generates money for himself. What has happened? No extra cash spent. The cash that was injected into his system was hitherto unproductive in Nigeria. Haruna's land was always there, but it did not have the right value because it wasn't documented. What did it take us to document? Just document it, nothing else. That is why most of Africa, despite having land, indigenous people, despite having land, remain what? Poor, because that capital is defective. It is not alive. It cannot generate productivity. Let's think about the second factor of production. I guess we are following it. Skill, labor. We have skillful people in Africa, or don't we? If you follow the news very well, you find out that Nigerians are some of the best educated people in the West. Call it medicine, law, engineering, and one of the most successful immigrants outside of Africa. That tells you that they're very skillful people. But why is it that the same skill in Africa is dead, but when it goes out of Africa, it comes alive? Okay, one that will amuse you a little bit more. The richest man in the world, is he an African or a Westerner? Elon is an African. But if he remained in Africa, he probably would have been the best physics teacher or the best mathematics professor wherever he was or wherever he decided. But that skill found its way to America, and Elon became the richest man. Africa, his natural origin in South Africa. And that's what happens with many of Africa's skill. But how can we get the skill in Africa to be productive for Africa? I always argue that public capital is not what really drives skill to be productive. It is private capital. Go to the West. They have found a way to organize themselves such that they now channel private capital to skills, to ventures, to venture building. I'll give you an example in order to illustrate this better. You have someone, a young boy in Nigeria. He grows up, he's gifted in mathematics, physics, and he understands how to make drones. Before he even goes to the university, he makes drones from recycled materials. But he gets into the university, studies electrical and electronics engineering. He graduates with good grades. And what would he do? He'll go and work in a bank like myself. I studied electrical and electronic engineering. Or he goes into Shell. He goes into a telecoms company. He starts pushing papers around. What happened to his drone manufacturing vision? It died because he needed to eat. He needed food. He wouldn't be chasing his vision when he cannot afford 3 square meals, or when he can't afford a shelter over his head. But if private capital finds a way to organize itself, it will identify this young boy and say, let us see your business idea. And we'll do what? We will fund the idea to a point that it starts generating revenues. I tell you, very likely, out of 10 of these ideas will go bust. But 4 of them that will get to the revenue stage would pay for everything that got lost. Without venture funds, with venture capital, we wouldn't have the Dells, the Googles, the Facebooks come alive. And who will organize them? Probably the finance professionals like myself. But that would be a tall order. We'll be seconding the responsibility or outsourcing the responsibility for Africa's growth once again. You that put your money in Chima, you can actually identify a good venture and back that venture. They are skillful people, not just in building, not just in tailoring, but they are there and they are waiting for the next 2 million naira that would make them productive. They are just at that brink. Can we begin to reorganize our value system from short-term profit that we see that always fails to backing individuals? That your loose cash in the bank, can it back an individual whilst taking teeth in the business? That is the way we can give in life to capital in Africa. I'll round up by telling a story. During the pandemic, I was in a health conference where you had leaders in the health space, you had government workers, politicians, top ones across Africa, and you had the donor agencies. They were there. And you saw leaders in Africa coming time after time, and they were saying that the way we could get our health system to work is by increase in donations. You know, while I was sitting, my stomach was rumbling. I was waiting to get the mic. I got on the stage, and even though I'm a private sector player that should learn how to be diplomatic, I had to tell everyone. In fact, I thanked the donor agencies for their magnanimity all this while. But I asked them, you've been helping us for the past 60 years. Why don't we have good health systems? And I talked to the government workers, we've been collecting these monies for 60 years. Why don't we have good systems? The truth is, money is not what's going to drive your productivity. No. Foreign aid will not drive the productivity of Africa. Africa has to rise and start driving its productivity using its own capital. That is the only time we can begin to grow. And it is not to come. We can begin to give life to capital in Africa, the basic one, land, documenting the entire land in Nigeria, at least, and making the system efficient, the transfer system efficient. That way, cash that is idle in the banks can begin to flow into these ventures that already own land. And you that put your money in Poyoyo, in Chimba, in MMM, you can now start having a rethink to say, can I start backing ideas? Can I start backing businesses? Can I start taking equities in small businesses that just need 3 million naira to go to the next stage? It is possible you lose your money, but of course you'll be losing your money. Did you make your money in MMM? You didn't. This time around, even if you lose it, we have made what? Progress. But it's been seen over time that the ventures that succeed eventually pay for the ventures that did not succeed. If Africa must grow, we must cause our capital to come alive. Local capital is the only hope for the growth. Thank you.
Thank you so much.